After Will Smith slapped Chris Rock following a joke about his wife Jada's bald head, Hollywood was left in shock over how to deal with the incident. Zoe Kravitz was one of the people that shared her disapproval on Instagram. A few days after the event, she posted a photo of her outfit at the awards show with the caption reading, quote, "Here's a picture of my dress at the awards show where we are apparently assaulting people on stage now." A few hours later, she was showing off her outfit for the after party, and the caption on that photo read, quote, "And here's the picture of my dress at the party after the award show, where we are apparently assaulting people on stage now." Immediately, she started to get pushback, with commenters telling her she should stay out of it, and it's not her place to comment on what happened between the two men. Then things got significantly worse when people on Twitter brought up some old interviews that she gave, where she spoke about Jaden Smith, Will and Jada's son. Many of her comments were deemed inappropriate, and she was quickly called out for being inappropriate with him. Specifically, during one interview, Zoe said how she had a close relationship with Jaden, and at times she had to remember that he was much younger than her. In a 2013 interview with V Magazine, she made some pretty concerning comments. At this time, Zoe was 24, while Jaden was only 14. She said in part, quote, "There were moments where I was hanging out with Jaden and thinking, I can't believe you're 14. I have to check myself, like what I say to you." Adding, quote, "He has so much personality and so much swag, he is so much cooler than I am. And he's so handsome. I was always like, when you're older, you know, we'll hang out. Nope, that's inappropriate." Clearly pretty concerning that she would speak of him this way when he was barely a teenager and 10 years younger than her. But that's not all. A red carpet interview also resurfaced that is just as concerning. In the clip, we see that Zoe is on a red carpet speaking to a reporter when she notices Jaden in the background. She then calls him over and they hug during this interview. During the clip, we see Zoe call Jaden her date and even claim that he is the love of her life. At the time of this clip, Kravitz was 26 and Jaden was only 16. Zoe also said multiple times that she dragged him out to the award show that night so he could be her date. She added that she texted him that he had to come out with her, so he did. This is not the only time she's exhibited some questionable behavior. She's also been called out for her friendship with controversial fashion designer Alexander Wang. Wang has been accused of inappropriate conduct with models and other celebrities in the past, and recently admitted to some of this conduct. At first, Wang denied the multiple allegations against him, calling them fabricated. But a few months later, he shared a different type of message, expressing regret for his past behavior, saying in a statement, quote, "It was not easy for them to share their stories, and I regret acting in a way that caused them pain. While we disagree on some of the details of these personal interactions, I will set a better example and use my visibility and influence to encourage others to recognize harmful behaviors." Although he slightly danced around the specifics of what he did wrong, he did own up to some of the behaviors that he was accused of. If you're not aware of the friendship between Kravitz and Wang, it's been ongoing for many years. The friends are so close that Wang even made her a wedding dress for her, which is something he says he only does with his close friends. While speaking with Vogue about the dress, they described that Wang was, quote, working with one of his oldest and best friends, with Wang describing, quote, "Zoe was very clear on her vision, something pure, elegant, timeless, but with depth. She knew the reference she wanted, and that was Audrey Hepburn, but we didn't want it to feel too vintage or costumey." Apparently, Wang worked on the dress for over a year and did 5 fittings with Kravitz. He added that working on the dress was sentimental to him, and even added a special sentiment to it to honor their friendship. Wang added, quote, "I made a special embroidered note for her on the inside, and one for her satin lunch bag." He explains, quote, "The funny story is that she used to carry a brown paper bag around with her as her purse, and we would laugh about it. So for her wedding, I remade it into a white satin." Wang added that he would only consider this undertaking if it was for a good friend, adding, quote, "I don't usually do wedding dresses unless I really know the person because it's a personal and intimate process." The last concerning thing that fans are bringing up is the fact that Zoe Kravitz and Ezra Miller dated while Ezra was not of age. A viral tweet claimed that Zoe and Ezra dated when Ezra was 17 and Zoe was over 20 years old. The pair never confirmed if they actually dated or not, but in 2010 it was rumored that the pair were dating while they worked together on the set of the movie Beware of the Gonzo. Speaking to Collider magazine at the time, Zoe said, quote, "Ezra had the part and we met before I was actually hired just to get ready for a chemistry read, and there was chemistry," adding, quote, "We became best friends immediately." The pair have a 4-year age gap between them, which a lot of fans found concerning. It was reported that the pair dated for less than 4 months in total. While they were working together on the movie, paparazzi snapped a photo of them passionately kissing at a club, which went viral on social media. As of now, Zoe has not commented any further on the Will Smith slap or the claims that have been made about her. However, she did turn off the comments on the Instagram post showcasing her Oscars dresses, so it's clear she does not want to deal with any more backlash. Since the slap, Smith has faced heavy criticism, and the Oscars are starting an investigation to determine what disciplinary action they will take. Will has apologized on social media and recently announced that he will be resigning from the Academy of Motion Pictures Arts and Sciences. Although this hardly changes anything, all this would stop him from doing in the future is voting on the recipients of the awards at each Oscars ceremony. There are approximately 10,000 members in the Academy, all of whom are expected to, quote, advance the arts and sciences of motion pictures. This resignation also won't keep Smith from attending future Oscar ceremonies. He most likely will even present the award for Best Actress in 2023, as is customary with each Best Actor winner. Smith can even be nominated and win another Oscar in the future. Academy President David Rubin said, quote, "We will continue to move forward with our disciplinary proceedings against Mr. Smith for violations of the Academy's standards of conduct, in advance of our next scheduled board meeting on April 18th. So I guess we'll have to wait and see how this all pans out, but let me know your thoughts on the scandal surrounding Zoe Kravitz, and how do you feel about her statements towards Will Smith? First up, racial ambiguity. These days, being diverse in Hollywood is a positive, and most studios are looking to diversify their casting choices. But in the case of Jessica Alba, her ambiguous ethnicity hurt her casting prospects, because the industry is not able to fit her into a box like they do with other actors. Jessica Alba came up in the film industry in the late 1990s and early 2000s, when it was hard to land spots in big movies unless your complexion was very light. But it seems she was not white enough to get lead roles. Alba spoke to Pop Sugar about how her ethnicity impacted her casting, saying, quote, "They couldn't figure out my ethnicity. They were like, you're not Latin enough to play a Latina and you're not Caucasian enough to play the leading lady, so you're going to be the exotic one." After hearing comments like this, she was more determined than ever to play the leading lady. Since she's helmed tons of movies in her day, it's clear that she met that goal. However, that was short-lived, and she's now rarely on the big screen. In case you were wondering, Alba stated that her mother is white and her father is Mexican American. Aged out of roles. Back when Alba was in her heyday, she was starring in movies as the bombshell side character, known mainly for her good looks. Many of her roles were all about how she looked and increasing the sex appeal of the movie to audiences. Her main roles happened in her mid-20s, usually a scantily clad love interest or object of desire for male characters. She even graced the pages of adult magazines like Maxim. Since Alba is now older and more mature, she would not consider playing a role like that. But since that's all she's ever played, it would be difficult for a casting director to all of a sudden put her in a different light to audiences that already know Jessica Alba's type. And most of the decisions in casting are based on audience perception. Leading roles flopped. When it comes to casting in leading roles, it does not usually come down to talent, rather how much money studios believe the actor can make. And unfortunately, Alba has not made studios much money when she was the leading lady in her films. This has essentially blacklisted her from ever helming a movie again. Jessica Alba was given a few shots at big screen stardom in the 2000s and sadly did not deliver what executives were looking for. There are only a handful of movies that she played a prominent role in that made over $100 million at the box office. These movies were Fantastic Four and Fantastic Four: Rise of the Silver Surfer, which also starred other big names. Alba had smaller roles in big hits like Little Fockers and Valentine's Day, but her roles were so minimal she's hardly remembered as being in them. Honestly, most of the movies she's been in are pretty forgettable, and I would be hard-pressed to name any movies that she's been in. To name some of her biggest flops, the dance flick Honey took in $30 million in 2003, Good Luck Chuck brought in $35 million in 2007, Machete earned $26 million in 2010, and Escape from Planet Earth earned $57 million in 2013. After so many box office flops, it makes no sense for the film industry to take any more chances on her. Next up, harsh reviews. Other than making money, the second benchmark of a good movie is good reviews from the audience and critics. If an actor is able to score both, they have a long career ahead of them, but not being able to get either is a recipe for disaster. Jessica Alba seems to have the disaster formula. Her movies hardly make any money, along with getting horrible reviews. Not one but two movies that she's been in, An Invisible Sign and Killers Anonymous, scored a 0% on Rotten Tomatoes. I didn't even know that was possible, while tons of other movies like Good Luck Chuck and The Love Guru failed to get over 20%. Even though she wasn't the star of any of these films, the fact that she's been in so many duds has put a stain on her relationship, because there is the potential that she is the bad egg in all of them. Many people have noticed her bad acting, and she's even won Razzies in the past, which are awards given to the worst actors and movies. She's been nominated for Worst Actress 3 times, Worst Screen Couple once, and actually took home the award for Worst Supporting Actress in 2011. That type of attention is not something you want if you're casting for an important movie. gave up. One of the main reasons Alba is not working anymore is that she decided to somewhat retire when she was 27. Since then, she's been more focused on having a family and being with her kids. Alba told Access Hollywood, quote, "I really stopped acting when I was 27 full-time," adding, "If I did do a job, it was really kind of a short period of time." But she made a point to not shut the door on acting for good, and instead only take roles when they felt like the right fit. She told Working Mother, quote, "I'm open to diving back into acting. It's my passion and my heart. I didn't take time from acting completely, but I certainly didn't make it a focus." At this point, Alba has a big family and other business ventures, so it seems she does not regret her decision. Honest Company. Speaking of Alba's other ventures, the most successful has been her beauty brand, The Honest Company. Alba co-founded the company after she had a bad experience using a traditional laundry detergent on her kids' clothes. Her newborn daughter broke out in hives after Alba washed her clothes because the baby could not handle the strong detergent. After this horrible experience, Alba set out to make products without toxins and harsh chemicals that would be safe for kids and people with sensitive skin. She hired Healthy Child, Healthy World author Christopher Gavin as a consultant, and LegalZoom founder Brian Lee to form Love and Honor, renamed The Honest Company when it launched in 2012. The company has been incredibly successful, selling $10 million worth of products in its first year. By 2015, The Honest Company offered more than 130 products and was sold in 4,400 stores. Alba's company generated $150 million that year, right around the time it enjoyed a market valuation of $1.7 billion. Since The Honest Company has been such a success, there's no reason to go back to the acting world. TV shows did no better. Movies are generally where all actors want to be. They don't call the biggest celebrities movie stars for no reason. So when Alba had a hard time getting cast in movies, she took a shot at the next best thing, television. In 2019, Jessica Alba walked away from an acting career focused on movies and took her first leading role in an episodic television show, LA's Finest. The show was about two female cops starring alongside Gabrielle Union. The type of show was pretty typical, being similar to most other cop shows, which is not great if you're trying to get out of a rut. Critical reviews were so-so, and it scored a 24% on Rotten Tomatoes, with audience ratings not being much better. The show also aired on Spectrum, which didn't help it get attention. Shockingly, the show was renewed for a second season. Fox also decided to buy the show and play reruns on their network to fill empty slots. But unfortunately, the show did even worse on Fox than on Spectrum. The show was obviously not picked up for a third season. After this fiasco, her days on TV were finished. Health is now her priority. While speaking with Romper magazine, Alba revealed that she quit acting in her heyday because she wanted to focus on her health and being with her kids as much as possible. She explained to the outlet that after she had her first child, Honor, in 2008, her mindset on everything changed. She explained how her mother had cancer when she was very young, in her early 20s, and Alba herself grew up with chronic illness as a child. These experiences made her understand that health is the most important thing in life. Adding, quote, "That's really what motivated me. My motivation was not like, am I ever going to get hired again? Frankly, I was at the top of my career. I couldn't go back to what I was doing before and be authentic. I just couldn't. I didn't care about it in the same way." After having children, Alba realized that she wanted to do something bigger with her life and actually make a difference in the world with the platform that she had. One of the main aspects of health is using clean products whenever possible, which is of course what drove her to start The Honest Company in 2012.
Actor Tom Felton, best known for his role as Draco Malfoy in the Harry Potter series, hasn't really been seen much in Hollywood ever since the series ended. As one of the breakout stars of the franchise, you would think that Hollywood would be trying to hire Tom for every role possible, but unfortunately for the actor, that isn't exactly the case. Though he has had a lot of success in earlier days of his career, things just haven't been the same in recent years, and there could be a number of reasons as to why that is. Today we're going to talk about the real reason Hollywood won't cast Tom Felton anymore. Too much pressure. I know that there are a lot of kids out there who dream of being the next big Hollywood star. A lot of actors begin their careers at young ages, and some of those child actors go on to be pretty big successes, but with that success comes a pretty big downside. Many former child actors have spoken out about their experiences of being in the spotlight at such a young age, and it doesn't sound like all sunshine and rainbows at all. This is one of the grievances that Tom Felton has with his career, and this could be one of the things that has held him back from the entertainment industry in later years. Tom has spoken out about the pressures of being a child actor, and a very famous one at that, since he was one of the stars of the biggest film franchises ever. Tom, when talking about his childhood, has said that he kind of resents the Harry Potter series and his part in it because he said that it robbed him of a normal childhood. That's completely understandable, since usually kids don't have to grow up in the public eye doing interviews, press conferences, and having paparazzi breathing down their necks. When Tom was asked about how he felt about the Harry Potter series coming to an end, he seemed a little bitter towards the films when he said that he was looking forward to it all being over and to having the freedom of not starring in films anymore because he hated his fame. Saying something like that might make Hollywood a little hesitant about hiring someone who hates their craft and what comes with it. Continuing on about his feelings towards the films and the part he played in his success, Tom told the Daily Mail, quote, "One thing that people keep on saying to me is that the wealth and fame must have made up for missing out on my childhood. But the idea of money putting a price on your childhood is ridiculous. To me, fame is not a positive thing. The idea of being famous is a lot better than the reality. It's fantastic when you go to premieres and people cheer for you, but it's not real." End quote. His resentment towards everything might have hurt his career in the long run. Career change. Usually when an actor gets out of one project, they start looking for the next big thing, that next big thing normally being another show or movie. But this wasn't exactly the case with Tom Felton. When his fellow Harry Potter castmates wrapped up their time in the franchise, Daniel Radcliffe moved on to Broadway and indie films, Emma Watson went to college, became an ambassador for a number of projects, and continued acting, but for Tom Felton, his next career move after Harry Potter was moving on to music, specifically rap. Yeah. He decided to leave the world of acting behind and got into the music scene, and in 2011 he announced that he had actually signed a contract with an indie label to produce some hip-hop music. Speaking out about this new part in his life, the actor said, quote, "I was thinking of doing some N-dub style stuff. I'm looking to get into the grime rap UK scene." End quote. He continued saying that he was really doing this to change his image. This really goes hand in hand with what he said about resenting his image as an actor and everything that came with it, so again, these comments and sudden career change certainly didn't help him out in Hollywood. What really sucked about this huge career change for Tom was the fact that his music never quite took off. Some songs had hit the public circuit, but not enough to really say that he found his next career path. It hurt his career taking this leap of faith and not having it pan out in his favor. Now before we carry on talking about why Hollywood doesn't want to work with Tom Felton anymore, why not take a moment to leave a like on this video if you're enjoying it so far, and while you're at it, consider subscribing to the channel to see more videos like this one. Typecasting. Because Tom Felton played the role of Draco Malfoy so well, it ended up being more of a hindrance to his career rather than an asset. Draco was pretty much an antagonist character in the Harry Potter series, and because Tom was so good at portraying a character who was mean and cold, this made Hollywood executives want to cast him in more roles similar to Draco's character. Though this could be good in some way, it also puts an actor in a box because no matter what other roles he's cast in, he's still seen as the villain. Tom Felton has spoken out on a number of occasions, saying that his natural personality is nothing like that of Draco Malfoy, so he really wanted to distance himself from playing a villain role. But again, when typecasting comes into play, it's hard to get out of that box that Hollywood has put you in. Even the first role that Tom booked right after Harry Potter ended was an antagonist character, so this really just showed the actor that he was certainly stuck within his craft. Even Harry Potter himself, Daniel Radcliffe, had a hard time booking roles after the series ended because everyone still saw him as the boy wizard, but he worked really hard to break that image and still continues to do so. Maybe if Tom Felton had done what Daniel did, then he would be more successful in Hollywood these days. Adjustment. Another reason that Hollywood might be overlooking Tom Felton for new roles could be because of the adjustment period that Tom took after wrapping on Harry Potter. Tom has opened up in the past about how it took him some time to get used to the idea of auditioning for roles again and not having them handed to him as the next installment of Harry Potter would start up pretty much right after the last one ended. He had been doing that same routine since starting his work on the films at the age of 12, and so this was a big change for him to have to seek out new work. During an interview with the Daily Mail in 2011, Tom opened up about how he had to adjust the auditioning process again, saying that things were much harder for him coming back to it after so many years. He told the publication, quote, "I'm much more nervous in auditions now than when I was 11. You take a lot of hits before you get something good. The first few were heartbreaking." End quote. The actor even went on to say that auditioning became so hard for him that he considered walking away from the business altogether. As you can imagine, auditioning is a huge part of being an actor, and so nailing an audition is really what makes or breaks one's career. Since Tom had such a hard time getting back into it, Hollywood might have seen this as a huge weakness and might not have wanted to take a chance on the actor because of it. Box office bombs. We all know by now that money is really what matters to people in the film industry. I mean, yeah, there are those few in the industry who do it all for the love of the craft, but for the most part, people are just out here trying to make the big bucks. Film executives want to hire the best people for their projects to make sure that their projects go well and are successful enough to make them lots of dough, so when things go left and films bomb at the box office, it ends up hurting a lot of people. Not only will the studio have lost a lot of money, but the actors would also be blamed for the movie not doing well because of their performance. This can cause actors to lose a lot of credibility in the industry because people rarely want to take a chance on people who might not make the contribution that they're looking for in regards to their film. This could be why Tom Felton hasn't really been hired much in Hollywood these days, because some of the films that Tom booked following the end of Harry Potter didn't really do too well. To some, Tom isn't considered a bankable actor in Hollywood because his recent films haven't brought in much money for the studio, and that's never a good thing. Being associated with so many box office bombs doesn't make a casting agent's job very easy because they can only do so much to get their client's foot in the door and in front of the director. This is why a lot of actors turn to indie films when coming out of big franchises. Actors like Daniel Radcliffe and Taylor Lautner have gone into the indie circuit after leaving their respective hit films because it's a good way to get into the industry without being pressured to make a lot of money. It's almost like building yourself and your career back from the ground up. So maybe Tom should look into this before really throwing in the towel with Hollywood. He's still a notable name, he's just gotta grind it out to get back on top and back in Hollywood's good books. Maybe we'll see this in the new year.